I've learned a lot actually, especially yesterday's topic. It was quite refreshing,
What was
and
the
I got
topic?
to, but it has really, really been impactful.
What was the topic?
We had facts and opinions. So it was so, I think it was a topic that even after the show, like we kept trying to see how we could, intertwine it and see how we can use it effectively. So it was impactful.
And I wish the topic will be stretched, because there are so many things to talk about on it. Lois, what about you?
Okay, I joined the program on Wednesday, and we talked about regret. Why am I in regrets? Yesterday was facts and opinions. So I've learned a lot, and from yesterday, the facts and opinion thing. Yesterday, like anybody that tells me anything, I was like, is that a fact? It became part of my my word yesterday, and it was so impactful. So I'm glad.
It's really interesting to know that even when we talk on things, we learn on things, and they are life-changing. And we just want to appreciate our viewers and supporters for always tuning in to watch all of our programs on Equa Television Africa, and especially on Today's Life. We have a group on Facebook called the Today's Life Community. That's TLC. You can do well to go to Facebook, search for that group, then follow it and like and be a participant on it, because everything we post, everything we do on Today's Life, we post it there. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. That's talking about Equa Television on Facebook and also YouTube and Twitter. And we are live also on Facebook and YouTube, where you can drop in your comments, and we always appreciate it when we hear from you. And to our supporters, thank you very much for always supporting us. Today on the show, we'll be talking about emotions, intention, and action. Emotion, intention, and action. Lois, what is emotion?
Just in simple terms, I would say emotions are strong feelings you feel when, depending on the situation at hand. Sometimes you might be angry. Sometimes you might feel this fear of anxiety. You might be disgusted because of a particular thing that is not really pleasant, or it can be amusement, surprise, and a lot of contentment, embarrassment. Emotions is quite wide, that it's a lot to, I'm sure we will enjoy it when we talk about it.
Sele, what about intention?
Intention is something you hope to do. Because, it took me back to a topic we treated on thoughts and intention, so intention is what you are hoping to achieve in the course of a time. So based on what the ideas you've gathered, or based on knowledge on something, you intend to work on it. So it's still a work in progress. Let me use that word. Intention is a work in progress that is yet to be actualized.
Action for me is something, the process of doing something or something being done. That's the state of something being done for a purpose. So we have defined emotion, intention, and action. And that's our topic for today. We'll be looking at this and how each of these terms or factors affect each other, or how they can improve each other. And because we are emotional beings, because we have thoughts, we think, we act, and we do. That's action, right? As human beings, and our brains are very vital in coordinating most of this series in our lives. We want to talk about it. And emotions are vital to everyone's life. The emotions that people have will dictate many of the things that they do. And that's talking about action. The things that people think and feel are always more powerful than the actions they do. That's talking about intentions. There are no limits to how many emotions a person might feel in a typical day, because the brain is the most active part of the human body. It is through this brain that life can quickly change. Our brains are active. We have processes, we have thoughts in a day. You can't even count the series of thoughts you have in your head, like in a day. And so those thoughts sometimes affect how we feel, or how we tend to behave. And emotions are basically things that we feel, like Lois said, anger, disgust, fear, love, hatred. They are the emotions. Intentions are mostly what we think on the aim we want to achieve. More like the thoughts in our heads, in our minds. You know, we think on them, we think on so many things, like there are processes on it. And there is an aim at the end of the day on what we want to do and what we ought to do, which brings about the action. So all these things are connected in a way. And I would like us to, in analyzing, detailing, how can these three affect each other?
I think they affect each other because one leads to another and to another. You just like we said, emotion is based on feelings, and our feelings change. So when I get happy, I can just have an intention of doing something and I'm quick to actualize it based on what I feel at that particular time. And that's why we hear people bring in the word emotional intelligence, because sometimes we need to know how to manage these emotions. So at the end of the day, we don't take out actions that are not proper at a particular time. And so these three terms, whether our intentions are, because we must have processed lots of things in our minds and we intend to. And that's why we hear somebody saying, I intend to. We will not give a response, but you didn't do it. That means there was no action at the end of the day. It was still an intention. It was still in your mind. Nobody knew about your intentions at the end of it, except when you work it out, then people look, okay, yes, she has actually put her words and her thoughts into actions. But as far as it still remains as just the words to you, nothing is being done, no results is being shown. So the result that we bring at the end of the day is what brings out the action. And so therefore it's important that we manage each of these processes gradually. Our emotions is something we need to handle with care. So at the end of the day, you don't get so happy or so angry and you end up saying words that you can't take back, because at that time you were angry or at that time you were very happy and you just said something and it's already out, you can't take it back. And so it's important that we know that at each process, whatever emotions I'm having at this particular time, what is that feeling? Is it something that later on we need to think about things? We need to be intentional about every action, because our thoughts changes, our feelings changes, but then our actions is very hard for you to reverse an action once it's been done, because it's a doing thing. It's a doing word. It's a verb. It goes. Once it's out, it can't come back. So we really, really need to watch out each of these terms at whatever particular time.
I think action in this description, or in these three factors, action is mostly like the final result, like the last. So I would like to let it rest for now. And Lois, do you think our emotions affect our intentions, or is the other way around, intention affecting emotions?
Okay, I feel just like you said, the action is the last part of it. I feel from emotion, then you get the intention. Giving an example of let's say a love something relationship. First, you have these feelings, and of course that's emotions. You have the feelings of, okay, you see this girl or this guy, mostly for the guys. You see this guy and this lady and you're like, oh wow, I feel something strong, like is either lost or whatever it is, because love sometimes we mistaken it for a lot of things. So it can be, okay, you see this lady and you are in love with her, let's say that, and then you start intending in your mind, like you start planning, okay, how do I approach this person? What do I do? Like the emotions is consuming you. How do you go about it? Then probably you might meet the lady and be like, okay, these are my intentions. These are my plans for this relationship. If you agree to date me, these are what my intentions, what I want to do, and how I want this whole thing to go. Is it a serious relationship? And he'll be like, okay, I see you as my wife, or I see you as whatever it is that he's intending in his mind he wants the relationship to go. And then finally probably the action, which we are keeping aside for now. So I feel from the emotions, then you get the intention. That's your plan.
Are you of the same opinion?
I think sometimes it varies to me. Because yes, our emotions is what gives birth to intention, but sometimes we make our intentions known before we actually bring out our emotions in it. Because if I would still stick to the same example she gave in a love relationship, yes, you actually have a feeling before you made her intention. But to me, I feel an intention is still is still an idea. So it's still, I'll still just keep it aside and feel that sometimes our intention runs before our emotions sometimes. But it matters in what situation or circumstances you find yourself that one will play before the other. That's what I feel.
I stand with you both on this analysis and the description. But I'll add to it that emotions, intention is like a circle that, okay, more like there's this arrow that is drawn going out, emotions to intention, then there is intention to emotion. Because it's not obtainable that you must have some emotions before intentions. There are times, there are instances, like Stella said, where your intentions will be there before even the emotion. Okay, for example, the instance you brought up where the love relationship, you're consumed by it and you need to talk to a lady, you as a guy, you need to talk to a lady to, you know, accept your proposal, telling her you love her, she's the mother of your future kids, you want to have 10 children with her. That's like your plan. Those are your intentions. Already you had emotions seeing her. She doesn't have the emotions at the particular time. You know, she'll start thinking because you've told her, so thoughts will come to her head and she'll start planning. And you know, we said intentions are, what are they? Like a plan, a process, you know, things that you want to do at the end of the day. Now she will start thinking of those things and analyzing. And it's true, he has pointed nose, my children will have pointed nose, or he has this, he has that, like what Lois was saying yesterday, I want to marry a pilot because so so you see, it's not like she doesn't even know him yet, but already there was some ideas that were put in her head. Before you know, she'll start developing emotions, and later when she sees him and she's not attracted to him, she will stop that emotions immediately. So you see, intention first. When you intend on doing something, then later you are already analyzing it, then you start feeling some emotions towards the person. That's why sometimes they say love grow, and especially for women, your love will grow, or is it a friendship that will grow, which you never even had interest in, or you never even analyzed that, okay, this is what you want to do at the end of the day. So I think it's a two-way thing. Then at the end of the day, action. You know, even though there are times that we tend to act on some things before thinking on them.
Most times.
But I won't say they are rare. They are very possible. You act, then you realize that, oh, wow, I messed up on this thing. I should have done it this way. Even though these are not my intentions, you know. But do you know, even in some situations where you are angry, where you are provoked, there are thoughts that will come to your head. You are already thinking, what should I do? Should I show my anger? Should I fight this person? You are fighting let's say two devils in your head already. Either you are fighting good and evil in your head, either to ignore, walk away, or either to stand and fight and argue. How will they, you know, disrespect me in this instance? Already you are thinking about it, then you act upon it. Then there are people that don't even think about such things before you know. That's why sometimes you'll be driving on the road, you see hefty men, grown men in suits fighting each other, because there was no thought before their action, or there was a thought, but because of that provocation, because of that anger, because of their emotions, there's no control over it, and they tend to fight on it. Moving on, in emotions, we have, they are mostly categorized by anger, hatred, love, what did you say, disgust, surprise, fear, all of these things. And sometimes we tend to say, I feel this way about you, I think, you know, I like you. I think I am angry. I feel, even though women tend to use feelings most times, because I think we're more emotional than, I don't know, but that's how it is. And sometimes when you are more expressive, people tend to tell you you are an emotional person. I think I get offended all the time when people say this person is an emotional person. Like, are you not supposed to be emotional? For you to even know who you are, you have to know what your emotions are. You have to know what controls you or what you control. For you to be able to control some things in your life, you have to know. If you are shielding your emotions, the day that you break down or crash, you understand? There are people like that, but there are people that will show you wholeheartedly they are not happy about this thing. Not like they are angry with you or they want to keep malice or whatsoever. No, it's just for you to know, and that will be it. Then there are people that will shield. They will even know if they are angry, if they are sad, if they are unhappy. And you'll be frustrated at the end of the day, you know, judging, trying to see, okay, what's the emotion of this person? How can I judge it? At the end of the day, you'll be frustrated. Have you ever met a manipulative person?
Yeah.
You know what a manipulative person is? Who is that kind of person?
Someone that I'm looking for the word.
I feel someone that doesn't show emotions. Like, the person is not angry. You don't know when the person is angry. You don't know when the person is sad. The person is just there, and you'll be wondering, okay, I've done this thing. Like, there are instances that you try to test the person and see if the person will ever get angry, but the person will never show anger, happiness, whatever. The person is just there like one stagnant water.
Yeah, and when you meet people like that, they tend to, they're very good in emotional blackmails. Because they tend to use people's emotion against them because they lack emotions themselves. So when they know you're this kind of person that you're easily carried, they tend to look for your weak point and use it against you. And that's the way I see manipulative people. But you know, when people come up with the word and saying that you're too emotional or things like that, because there's this saying that said that when you're emotional, people don't think right because they are being controlled by their emotions. They hardly take time to analyze certain things. And that's why we see or we hear instances of grown men fighting because they allow their action to even before it's after, because we've met people that it's after they've slapped someone or doesn't like, they're now back on, they say, did I just do that? That is when they are thinking already their action is even taking the first room after we've lined up the fact that emotions, intention, or based on how circumstances are before actions. But we have people that their action is number one on their list before they even have any emotion or even any intention at the end of the day. And
you know, we can't totally push that to maybe not thinking before acting. Sometimes it's just repenting after the action.
But sometimes it's too late. When the head is cut off, what will you do at the end of the day?
The thing is, there are actions that are you can kind of correct or go and apologize for it, and there are some that there's nothing you can do about it. Like if you've killed someone, you can't do anything.
That's the emotion I'm referring to, because most times people that we see acting out before thinking are mostly those that work on negative emotions.
Wait, Sele, have you've been in a relationship? Have you ever had a misunderstanding or said something that was wrong or acted in a way that you felt sorry for, then you went back to apologize?
Yes, I have.
Do you think you were not thinking right, or you acted?
I was controlled by my emotions as of that time.
But okay, let me ask this properly now. Was there a point in your relationship where maybe you were clouded by some certain judgments, or by some certain emotions, that you judged a situation wrongly, or you felt a particular way and you felt, okay, you know what, I need to end this, or you know what, I need to talk to this person about this, and after doing that, that's like analyzing. Women don't just wake up to, we analyze, we take weeks. There are times we even count. Let me use 3 days, you know, to think on this. Let me use 1 week. We are like that. After that 1 week, you know, and maybe the person has been giving you some silent treatment. Then you are analyzing it. After that 1 week, you are meeting him to say, do you know what? I really don't think I want to do this. You are this person, you are selfish, you don't take care of me, you are not nice to me. You know, I've analyzed, I've thought about it. We always say that. I've carefully talked about it. And I feel you know, if you don't change, this is it. And you tell him, in short, I will leave. I am done. I want to move on with my life and everything. Then when you get home, they be like, did I do the right thing? You know, then after maybe some 2 days, then you will go back and tell him, yeah, sorry, let's continue. You've never been in it.
Happened to me.
So what will you call that? Foolishness?
I think, no. In a situation like that, you've actually thought about it carefully before acting on it and telling the person, this is what I feel. And it must be based on what maybe there have been some past records you have been keeping, because we are good in keeping record. I'll tell you date and time that you did a particular
and the clothes
thing.
he was wearing.
You get, I will let you know. That is to show that it's not like I'm unforgiving, but I've been forgiving, but things are playing out this way. And then I started things that, and then when I go back, I'm like, but it seems like I was irrational at the end of the day. But when you actually look at, yes, you actually thought about it. In that case, I think it's one in a different case from those that mostly act impromptu before actually, you know, analyzing issues.
You know, I asked you if you've been in a situation like that.
Yes.
I didn't ask you to explain.
Yes, I have, and I've regretted.
Dear diary, I go.
And I said, yes, I've been in that situation and I regretted it. But then, even still thinking about it, it was the right thing to do that as of
Okay.
that time.
Do you think you were controlled by your emotion going back because maybe you were missing out, you know, you were missing him, or you were missing some activities, you know, and maybe with him, you know, there was that void that he was covering, you know, like something being used to him. That's why you went back to apologize, not because there was a change attitude, but just because, you know,
I think, yes, that
was
is
why.
basically...
You see, that's emotions now. Lois, have you been in a situation like that?
I don't think so.
James Bond. Go ahead.
I don't really think so, that I've gone to talk about something and then say I'm done with the relationship, and then I'll go back to say, okay, I'm sorry. I can't really think of any situation like that, because I think these things, like, I think them deep.
Deep thinker.
When I'm done with it, I'm done with it for life.
I think I've done something like that. And let me give you the reason. I wanted a change situation, a change behavior. Then I threatened. Then I left. Not like I was living based on just threats and not making up my mind. No, I made up my mind. Like, I even folded, you know, my heart in my heart, so that I even, like, you know how we can decide on things. Then I left. Then I was like, do you know what? Let me apologize. Maybe I said things wrongly. Because if you are emotionally intelligent, you must have empathy. I started thinking not on behalf of myself now, but the other person. I was like, no, let me go back. Let me just apologize. Give a chance, even if the person is not asking for a chance. Then I did that. I went back and, you know, okay, I'm sorry. I think I was wrong in saying most of these things, but this is it. I desperately need a change behavior and whatsoever, like all those things. I was like, okay. But let me tell you one thing. When a woman does that, it doesn't mean that she will come back with the same level of love
and
she
trust.
has always loved the person. No. There is, I don't want to say it's not possible, but we have already conditioned my mind that this is the percent of love I want to give. You know, they you've never been in a situation that you feel, okay, you give 100%, you want to reduce it to 70.
Because as if you gave 100, that was why that misbehavior was.
So I reduced it as, like, in my mind, I didn't tell him, in my mind, this is the percent of love I want to give, so that I will see if there's change behavior. If there is none, I won't tell him I'm leaving again. Reduce. But I will stay there, reduce. Before you know, there will be no need to talk. There will be no need to even say, okay, do you know what? I am leaving. No, actions will tell. You see, in emotions, intentions, and action. Actions will tell. Before you know, you don't even feel, you will even wonder, why did I even come back to say sorry? But at least you've cleared your mind of all of these situations, all of these, you felt empathy for him, but he didn't regard it and all. You know, I know men to do that. It's just that it's unfortunate that there's no man on set to defend their own emotions. But They tend to do that because we are humans. People are people. And why I asked if you've met a manipulative person is this. A manipulative person will always play with your emotions. A manipulative person will twist the conversation. A manipulative person will hijack the conversation. A manipulative person will make you feel guilty for something you did not do. You are the victim here, but being with a manipulative person, you will be the person, you know, he will be the victim. You will be the one, you are the offender. Before you know, you're asking yourself, you're doubting yourself, you're doubting your intelligence.
You're making excuses for him.
Your intentions, what, you know, these are your intentions, they are pure. But at the end of the day, he will make you feel as if, I'm sorry to use this word, worthless, no value. Like, there is how you will feel. Let me tell you. Noise is like you have much of this, you know, all of these things, as in, they describe this thing very well. And it's very important to understand this because we relate to people both in relationship, friendship, family, and what have you. There are some people that complain about their mothers being manipulative, even their fathers. There are people that complain about relationships, and we find it mostly in situations like that. Someone will be manipulative and you'll be wondering, you'll be doubting yourself. Even when you are working on your emotional intelligence, you know, you keep doubting yourself. How am I doing this? I think you should leave. I think you should run away, because that person will affect you mentally. You'll be frustrated physically. You will be sad all the time. There are people that have mood swings, you know, that is like something they cannot control, or something that in the process of controlling. But do you know, it affects them too. It affects people around them. It affects how they behave in a day. It affects how they even behave in a relationship. But a manipulative person, nah.
You know that's why when it comes,
I'm not saying that person will go to hell.
Yeah. You know, that's why when it comes to these emotions and action, and especially when you come to corporate organization, they come against relationship within co-workers because of issues like this, where you get so carried away with your emotions, and then when you meet people who are manipulative or people who don't act accordingly, they have a way of even affecting your productivity at the end of the day, because you tend to see that there's nothing valuable about yourself. You tend to see that everything you do, you don't even see. And you know, for you to actually get emotion from people, especially love emotions, you need to love yourself first before you can invite it. If not, you become very toxic. You know, you suffocate people with the way you behave. Why? Because you are not able to manage your emotions by yourself, and then you take irrational actions. You just say things, not even weighing what the impact will be on people. And that's why we see corporate organizations will always tell you they don't want you to have a love relationship in a work setting, because they don't want anything that will affect your productivity. They don't want you to be upset. Instead of smiling, to just show you something that make you angry, your entire mood has been changed, because we know emotions has the way of controlling, especially as a lady, that those are the best way we express ourselves, through our emotions. You can see a guy that say he loves you, but he won't show it. He will not be so emotional. Maybe he feels the best way to tell you sorry is by buying you lunch, but he will never open his mouth to tell you he's sorry. So we need to really, really know at what time certain things should play out, whether when should I put my emotion. I remember there was the episode we had that I said, because of certain things that have happened, you go with your head and you take your heart along with you to help you to manage certain things. Because when you're so emotional into things, you don't even, that's why they say emotional people don't think. When you're too emotional about things, every little thing, your emotion is attached to it. When somebody tells you look pretty, you're already planning a wedding in your head when he didn't even tell you I love you.
But don't you think it's a good thing to be emotional?
No, it's a good thing to be emotional, because you can't be emotional. You are not an animal. Even animals have emotions. But that is where we said the emotional intelligence. When you don't know how to manage your emotion at a particular time, when you are being put on a hot spot, you don't know what to do out of that time. Why? Because you are so emotional. You just do say, okay, he said he loved me, already sharing your salary into two because he said this. You already see the kind of futures you like. You allowed your emotion to becloud your sense of judgment. And before you realize you are doing the wrong things, even though it might be the right thing, but you are doing it to the wrong person. Why? Because you allow your emotion to go ahead of your heart, your head. You're not thinking right. Because when you actually think right, just like we said about you saying, okay, I'm sorry, you actually thought about it. It's an intention and an action. I'm sorry, maybe I was irrational in what I was saying, the way I treated you. But then you're making sure that your emotion, that's why you're reducing the love. I'll make sure that I don't put my emotion in that point that you toil with it and do whatever you feel like doing with it, that you master your emotions out of that time.
I think the right proportion of these things are going to be good, as in when they are put in the right, like not being too emotional, not thinking, like there are people that can plan for Africa. They will keep planning and planning and planning, and they will not execute it at the end of the day. So when you are emotional, like women are emotional beings. I've heard a lot, I've read some books about it, that we are emotional beings. Unlike men, they are logical, I think, yes. So we tend to allow our emotions most of the times before we do a lot of things. So knowing how to control your emotions in a particular situation or whatever thing, your decision or whatever you want to do, it's very key. And then the intention, when you plan, just try, and you think it's so much, you think it through, you think it's the best thing to do at that moment, you should carry it out and execute it, other than just thinking, planning and leaving it there. Your emotions will just be there, your plans will just be there. It's just going to be a lot of things not put in place at that time. So I just feel the right proportion of all this will be at the right time.
Let's talk about action. Like, most times we are controlled by our emotions before we act. Because I picked it from what you are saying. There are times we feel a burst of anger and we show it. There are times we are clouded by feeling some type of love towards someone and we act in a way that doesn't even favor us. We act in the favor of the other person, living out ourselves. And one of you said you have to love yourself first before you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Now, our actions are very vital in our day-to-day activity. And like I said, in our head, there are a series of processes that are always happening. You might be thinking of maybe lunch at this particular moment. Then you are thinking of your next show. Then you are thinking of, what am I even wearing tomorrow? Tomorrow is this day. Or so many of these things that sometimes somebody will tell you, I wasn't even thinking before doing this. Then we tend to act. How do you think these emotions control our actions? Now, removing the intention, because intention doesn't necessarily mean like your action. You can intend for something different, but you act in a different way.
I think our emotion also goes along with our personality at a particular point in time, and that's what leads to the actions we take. Because if you're too emotional, you tend to act emotionally at every point in time. Everything you do, your actions are always emotionally inclined. You don't do things out of logical thinking, like let me weigh things. What is the way forward toward this? And just like we say, action is important because that is the end point of all this. No matter what you feel, at the end of the day, what do you do with that feeling is what is key. You were angry that somebody spoke to you harshly. How did you act after that? Were you logical in your thought, okay, if I should follow this lady and argue, at the end of the day, 2 of us will be fools. So why don't I keep quiet and make her to be the bigger fool at the end of the day? Now, it all boils down to how you act. And that's why sometimes we hear they have brought us so many things that has to do with personalities. We hear choleric, we have sanguine, all those, that is where all those things are coming up, because we tell you this particular personality is what makes you act the way you act. But then it still boils down to, yes, your personality, and yet if you are a Christian, the fear of God will also help you to know how to act accordingly at a particular point in time. Because if you truly know God, then you know that, okay, doing this, I mean, the Bible even says when everybody quarrels, I mean, harsh words stir out anger at the end of the day and quarrels. So at the end of the day, when you know God, you act right. But we have people that even when they don't have the fear of God, they are logical in their thoughts. They just see things. So our emotion sometimes, or would I say most times, actually have a way of influencing actions that we take at the end of the day.
Our emotions can improve our thoughts and actions. If we master the skills of handling our emotions, we can get the best out of work, out of relationship. Just like people said, it has to balance. Now, at the workplace, where you show emotions in so many of the things that you are even assigned to, where you're assigned some assignments, you think on them, you start analyzing them, it will affect productivity. And in affecting productivity, you will be marked as incompetent because you are not producing, you are not doing, you are not acting. You are being employed for some certain actions. You are being employed for, see, your employment is not just for you to act on assignments. No, your employment is your emotions, your intentions, and your actions. Why did I say that? Having control over your emotions, the intentions will play, because you have to think critically. You have to be creative. You have to, what is the company asking you for? Creativity, and analysis, understand, like all of these things that will apply on your work, then you will act on them. But if you just keep the action, the what have you that is in between before, I mean, if you skip the intentions, you know, before the action, you will just be, you might be producing things that are not even needed. You might be working on assignments that don't even make sense at the end of the day, because creativity is not applied. There's no skills in it. You have the skills, but there's no creativity in it. You have the skills to submit assignments, you know, on time, but creativity is not applied, because you don't even know how to control most of these things. You don't know how to think on, okay, I have the determination, or my brain is active, this is how I can think on it, this is how I can come up with ideas, but you shield that other part. All you are doing is action. Now you see, I agree with Sele where she said you have to be emotionally intelligent in these three ways, in these three factors that we're talking about. Emotions, intentions, and actions. They go side by side. You cannot leave out one to do the others. No, it has to be the three, or nothing at all. But if you're emotionally intelligent simply means, if I'm to put it in a layman language, having the capacity, mastering the skills to handle your emotions, be it fear. Do you know there are people that have fear that if this mug drops, there is how in their, so they jump even in their spirit. There are people that it's difficult for them to even love because of past experiences. They've not mastered the skill, you know, to handle how to, okay, bring the right proportion, how to love. There are people that they are easily offended. Even if what you are saying doesn't even relate to them, they are offended in it. There are people that their happiness are always influenced by some circumstances. There are people that wake up and, you know, they don't have control over all these things. But if you're emotionally intelligent, you have control of your emotions. And I think your intentions will be pure, or I think your intentions, you know, will go in line with what the action is, what you intend to do at the end of the day, and that is action. Because in everything, action is very important. That's the end result. You have to know where you are going to, you have to know where to end, you have to know the final result. And people will not judge you by your emotions, people will not judge you by your intentions, but they will judge you by your actions.
Exactly, because action is the key at the end of the day. So regardless of what you say, and that's why we always hear people make an example. This guy said he loved me, this was his intention, but he's acting differently. His words and his actions are not even matching, because his words are supposed to be the intentions he had, and then his emotions is supposed to be seen in what he does. Say he cares about it, he should do what is expected of it. And so our actions is very, very important. And we also need to know that our actions affect people's decision in life. And we should know that our actions have a way of, you know, rubbing off on others too. Because if you act rightly, even in your workplace, productivity will take place properly. You're able to manage your emotion properly. company, you're working with your co-workers, there's a way you bring out more result. Why? Because you are acting accordingly as to how it's expected of you to act. But when you always inclined on emotion, you become too selfish. You don't know how to manage your emotion. You look at what will favor me first. Then you affect productivity at the end of the day, because we are not considerate of what the other person wants. You're just concerned on what will favor me at the end of the day, and you put your entire emotion into the entirety. So nobody's allowed to bring his own emotion for people to measure it together and see what can we do together to make sure that we bring out productive things at the end of the day. And it boils down to even our family relationship, friends relationship, love life. Every part of our life, our actions and emotions play a role, and so we need to carefully manage our emotions, because at the end of the day, you cannot say you don't have emotions. No matter how heartless you are, you have an emotion at the end of the day. A feeling.
I used to be this person that mostly in my relationships, like when I get angry, I just act. I don't even think about it. I'll just say whatever it is in my mind. I will just lash you and I move. But then it got to a point that I was like, "Kai, this attitude, like these actions that are driven by my emotions, it's not helping. Like, why will you men like respect, like their life. So, everybody does. So, like, I had to...
Go ahead, Lois.
I had to talk to myself that, okay, when you are being driven by your emotions, when you get angry, you shouldn't just act on it immediately. You should think it through. Like, okay, there are some situations that you might just, okay, should I just let this thing go? Or should I talk? Even in your talking, how do you go about it? Do you just talk anyhow? Or you, okay, see, this thing that you did, I didn't like it. Or this was what I was expecting you to do and you didn't do it this way. Please, next time, probably you should try and do it this way. I think it helps me. Like now, it helps me than all that lashing and saying all sorts of things. So actions, like you have mentioned earlier, it affects people. Your emotion, your intention will not affect people, but your action will affect people. So in all we do, we should be careful on the things our actions.
And I think just to say a little, I think while even walking around with people with their emotions, with the way our emotion, we should tend to know people's personality too, because it has a way of affecting the way they behave. I know you can't please everybody, but I think tending to know people's personality will help you to know how to act according to the way they are. If you know that this lady, this is how she's, or this guy, this is how he is, it will help you in a way to know, here, this is how I'm expected to act out of this time. If I should talk back, I know the result at the end of the day. She will not only get hurt, I will get hurt as a result, because I know my personality. So knowing people's personality will help you, because I know I met a lady that said her place of work told her that they were giving her quite a number of time away from work, that because she's too emotional, she needs to learn emotional intelligence. Now this was something that we would just say, it's not just emotions, and then we shake it off. But we saw that even in her place of work, it affected her, that she had to go start reading books, listening to people on how can she manage her emotions to make sure that she bring out something productive at work. So we see we cannot keep any of this aside and say we'll just act without our emotions, our intentions, and then at the end of the day, our actions that is in play is what what people will see and use it at the end of the day.
Well, that is very important and that's very refreshing. We've been talking emotion, intention, and action on today's life today, and we just want to appreciate our supporters and everyone that commented on our social media platform that's talking about the Facebook. We're not able to take some of these comments, but we promise that we shall take more on the next episode. Minds. I think personally I've been studying a lot on the emotions, intentions, and actions, and even everything that has to do about myself, body, mind, and spirit, in keeping it on the right track. And I just want to encourage somebody right now that when you master your emotions, when you master your triggers, you know how to stay away from some emotions that might control your life and make you to take some wrong decisions. And you can study on self-awareness, knowing yourself. You can study on self-regulation, that's having control over your emotions. You can even study on motivation, that's knowing you are your own cheerleader, you are your own, master that can push you to your success. And you can even study on empathy, knowing how to relate with other people and how other people feel based on your mood swings or based on your emotions and how it even affects them. These are very important. These are very important factors in our life, and that's why we talked about it today on Today's Life. And we've come to the end of the discussion. We just want to appreciate you for always tuning in to watch. My name is Joyce Yakwari. I had Lois Turaki and Sela Elisha in the studio. Thank you very much. Develop your emotions and make them work to your advantage. That is what I'm leaving with you this beautiful morning going to afternoon. Take care.